Welcome back to Inside Tennessee on this Sunday morning. Superintendent Bob Thomas is our guest. And Superintendent Thomas, I want to move to one specific area of education that has gotten a lot of attention because we're going to see a big change this year, and that is in third grade. Here is the problem. Upwards of 60% of students are off track. They aren't reading at grade level, and a new policy calls for holding them back, not moving them on to fourth grade at the end of the year. Now, there are some caveats. They can retake the test, they can sign up for some tutoring, do some summer school. But Superintendent, how do you see this playing out? And do you think this might impact hundreds of third graders in the district?
Well, I certainly hope it doesn't impact hundreds of students. Of course, again, when you're talking about holding students back, you're looking at facility issues as well in terms of having more students in third grade. You've got second graders who are rising to third graders, and then if you're retaining third graders, then that's going to put a strain on facilities. And even though the numbers are not what we want them to be, I think our school district, Knox County Schools, does a great job with our students. And my hope is that through summer school, through tutoring and things of that nature, we can help our students, and they'll be able to move on to fourth grade. So we've got some things in place through with the ESSER funding, the money that we received from the federal government, total about almost $178 million, I believe, and we're putting some strategies in place through our plan to really focus on the student learning. Of course, reading is one of those. So again, I wish what it would be a local decision like it has been, because I feel like we do a really great job in terms of helping students catch up. Maybe they're not reading on third grade level, but if they're promoted, we continue to work with them, and our teachers do a great job, and we have students that make up a lot of ground once they leave third grade. So in terms of that being a local decision, that seems to me would be what would be best. But certainly we'll whatever the law is, obviously we're going to follow the law, but we're going to do our best to make sure that we can promote as many of our third grade students as we possibly can.
Quick follow-up on that, because you said you'd prefer it to be a local decision. This was an edict handed down from state lawmakers. Have they made your job easier or harder? Yes or no, and explain why.
Well, it's in some ways easier. I'm going to dodge this question. Some ways easier, some ways harder. But anytime you can leave decisions into the hands of the folks at the local level, I feel like that's best. I mean, we saw that last year when we were talking about the decision to go virtual. That was a local decision, and it worked quite well. And I know parents said, "Well, hey, why can't you do what you did last year?" So, I mean, that's an example of maybe something being put in place is taking that decision making away from us. So all in all, I know legislators, they have good hearts, and they're trying to help as much as they possibly can. And I know superintendents, we get together and we try to talk with our legislators, and when things are coming down, we try to point out pitfalls, maybe or unintended consequences of legislation that might be coming through. And I know our legislative group they have been great to listen to and support Knox County Schools. So certainly have no problem with the legislators, but as many of those decisions that could be made locally, in my mind, that's how they should be made.
Bob, as a journalist, I'm not supposed to have an opinion, but I do have an opinion about your job, and that is that it's one of the hardest jobs around. It is not easy trying to run a school system like this that's so big and has got so many employees and students. So that leads us to ask you about a couple things. We know you had some goals for yourselves about some specific areas, including student achievement. Would you mind to grade yourself? We'll throw a few at you, your goals, and just get your take on where you would give yourself an A to an F, if you don't mind being old-fashioned. And could we start with student achievement during your tenure?
Well, I think at the beginning of the tenure, just looking at some of the progress we've made, I certainly feel like that might be a B level. We were making some good progress initially, the first couple of years. Let me just say, too, John, with this pandemic, I will have spent, by the time I leave here, 44% of the time that I've been superintendent has been in this pandemic. And of course, I'm not making excuses or anything, but we did experience quite a bit of learning loss for that year and the year plus. But prior to the pandemic, and the metrics are in our strategic plan, and we met quite a few of the objectives that we laid out in our strategic plan those first couple of years. It's not been as good since then. I couldn't give myself a good grade for the last 2 years, basically just because of the situation that we've been facing. Let me just say about of course, this is not about me. This is about our students and about our school system. And I could not be more proud of our students. I've been through four graduations now and get ready to go through the fifth. And we've had, 15,900 plus students graduate. We have doubled our AP courses during that time, and the number of AP courses that seniors have taken. We've tripled our industry certifications. Our dual enrollment, dual credit courses, we've been gone up by 49% in numbers of students, or 40% in numbers of students taking those courses. So I couldn't be more proud of our students. And just for example, last year's class, $178 million worth of scholarship money for those seniors. So, all that's a credit to Knox County Schools, not to the superintendent, whoever the superintendent is, certainly not me, but we have great students and great teachers and administrators and school staffs, and that's what it's all about. And, but back to the question about what grade would you assign, to yourself for the last 2 months? Well, it wouldn't be a good grade because we just haven't made the gains. It's been disappointing to me that we've not closed achievement gaps with our students. We've got one of the goals is to eliminate disparities, and we have not made the kind of gains in terms of closing achievement gaps with our students that are in poverty, with our students who are English language learners, with our students with disabilities, with our students of color, Black, Hispanic. There's still that difference between the majority students and the students that represented in those groups. So, that's been a big disappointment for me that we haven't done better there. And again, I'll take responsibility for that. It's our teachers have done a great job, and our administrators. So, and I think our district is poised at this point. If we can get out of this pandemic and get things back to normal, whoever the next superintendent is, I think this district is poised to move forward and really make some fantastic progress with eliminating those disparities. So that's been a disappointment.
Superintendent, we're going to touch on another goal. We've got to take another quick break. You had 3, as you mentioned. We'll get back to creating a positive culture right after this.